class. Okay, Nancy, are you going to make some remarks here?
Hello, and thank you for becoming an informed voter by attending tonight's event. My name is Nancy Soring, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Maryland, and I want to welcome you to this forum for Republican candidates for Attorney General. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Maryland. We are a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We work to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and we influence public policy through education and advocacy. Our mission is to empower voters and protect democracy. Another sponsor of this forum is the University of Baltimore Schaefer Center for Public Policy. The Schaefer Center at the University of Baltimore College of Public Affairs is a nonpartisan applied research and service organization that leverages the expertise of the university community in its work to inform decision makers through applied research and program evaluation, develop public servants through its professional development program, promote public discourse through policy analysis and conferences, and grow future leaders through fellowships and applied learning activities for students. Maryland Nonprofits, another sponsor, is a statewide association of more than 1,400 nonprofit organizations and institutions with members in every county of Maryland. Their mission is to strengthen organizations and networks for greater quality of life and equity, and they are celebrating their 30th anniversary this year. Maryland Nonprofits is also the home of the Standards for Excellence Institute. MarylandReporter.com, another sponsor, is the original nonprofit news website covering state government and politics in Maryland. Founded in 2009 and recognized by the IRS as a 501c3 tax-exempt corporation, MarylandReporter.com does original news coverage and also features a daily roundup of coverage of government and politics from news sites and bloggers from around Maryland. Foundations helped started Maryland Reporter, and it's supported by private donors, foundations, and sponsors. This election year, it is also producing online voters' guides for statewide and local candidates. Maryland Matters, yet another sponsor, is a nonprofit news website focusing on state government and politics. Launched in 2017 as a blog, Maryland Matters began publishing a daily news report in 2018. They now have more reporters covering the State House than the Baltimore Sun and the Washington Post combined. And our final sponsor is Maryland Latinos Unidos. Maryland Latinos Unidos, or MLU, is a statewide network that collaborates and builds collective power for the benefit of Maryland's Latino and migrant communities. MLU members are organizations, businesses, and individuals who support Latino and immigrant communities across Maryland. They address the challenges faced by emerging communities, provide technical assistance for community-serving organizations, build links to all levels of government, and advance knowledge of the Latino community through research and outreach. As you know, this forum is being recorded. And in addition to tonight's forum, we're also hosting a forum for Democratic candidates for Maryland Attorney General tomorrow night from 7:30 to 9 p.m. And a link to join that forum will be posted in the chat. A forum for the Democratic candidates for Comptroller will be held next Tuesday, the 31st of May from 7 to 8:30 p.m. A link for that forum will also be in the chat. And just as a note, the reason we're not hosting a forum for the Republican candidates for Comptroller is because the Republican candidate is unopposed in the primary election. Before I turn this over to our moderator, I just want to encourage everyone to go out and vote and to learn more about the upcoming election, the candidates, and the offices they are seeking. Go to vote411.org. A link to that organization website will be in the chat. It goes live on June 4th, and it has information about both the candidates and the offices that they're seeking. There will also be a link to the Maryland Matters voter information, and watch MarylandReporter.com for their link to voting information. Remember, early voting begins July 7th and goes through July 14th. The primary election is July 19th. The deadline to request a mail-in ballot is July 12th, and your ballot must be postmarked or placed in a designated ballot box by July 19th. And remember, the most important thing, you must be registered to vote by June 18th, or you could register to vote at an early voting site or on election day. And now, it is my pleasure to turn this over to Len Lazaruk, the founding editor and publisher of MarylandReporter.com, who will be your moderator this evening.
Well, unfortunately, it looks like our other Republican candidate for Attorney General, Michael Anthony Perutka, has not shown up. I wanted to mention there's a famous quote from Woody Allen with various provenance and various percentages, but 70% or 80% or 90% of life is just showing up. And Jim Schaefer showed up for the debate and the forum, and under the league rules, they do not do a forum if there's only one candidate to promote it. But what we're going to do with Mr. Schaefer is allow him to do his 2-minute opening statement. I would also encourage you, for people who want to know more about this race, that the Maryland State Bar Association did 1-hour interviews with both Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Perutka some time ago. They are interesting. Just Google the Maryland State Bar Association Attorney General candidates, and you'll see a very interesting discussion of people in the legal climate. I'm glad that Nancy brought up that, as a matter of fact, under relatively recent Maryland law, you can just show up to vote and be registered that day and be given a provisional ballot so that anybody who wants to vote can vote. So, so Mr. Schaefer, we got I got about 17 questions here, but all we're going to do with you is your opening statement, and I'd like to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Oh, good. Well, thank you very much for having me. Basically, I'm running for Attorney General for one basic reason, and that's to help reduce crime in Maryland. My background is as a prosecutor. I've been here about 32 years. I came from New York to work as a prosecutor in the U.S. Justice Department Antitrust Division. Before that, I came from New York. I grew up on the Lower East Side of New York, public school in New York. My first job was as an assistant district attorney in the Bronx, New York, 12 years. 10 of those years, I was in the Homicide Bureau of the Bronx. No better place to learn how to be a prosecutor than the Bronx. About 50,000 arrests a year, over 400 homicides a year on occasion. So I learned my first job as a lawyer in the DA's office. Eventually, I was promoted to chief of homicide of the Bronx. I supervised about 20 lawyers, 80 detectives in the investigation and prosecution of that year, those 3 years, about 435 murders a year. So I know how to prosecute criminal cases. I want to change the dynamic and the philosophy of the Attorney General's office from basically a civil enforcement office to a criminal enforcement office. I prosecuted David Berkowitz, the son of Sam Killer, for 3 murders in the Bronx. And I know the sound. I know the sound a mother makes when I had to tell her that her child was murdered. So I know from the ground up what crime has done to families and destroyed them. I want to create a major offense bureau. There's about 400 and something lawyers. I want to take 10% of them, maybe 40 lawyers, create a major offense bureau to go into counties like Baltimore City, Prince George's, where they're overloaded with crime. And some of these counties have prosecutors that are sitting on their hands. I want to go in with my lawyers to assist or replace prosecutors that are not prosecuting the most violent and repeat offenders. And repeat offenders too have to be dealt with harshly. You steal your 14th car, time to go to jail. So I want to create a major offense bureau, go into these counties with its violent and repeat crime. They don't have the resources to do it or the will to do it. Prosecute these people without plea bargaining, no deals, and go in and help to reduce crime by taking the worst of the worst off the streets. And with our resources, we have about 1,000 employees in the Attorney General's office. We can do it. That's the way to fight crime. It's not complicated. You take the worst off the street, you make it a safer place. So that's my priority.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you.
Went a little bit over time. Got a message that Mr. Brook is at another event. In any case, so Nancy, back to you, or we're over. We hadn't really discussed what we would do if a candidate didn't show up. So Nancy, back to you.
Once again, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I'm disappointed that we aren't able to continue, but as a nonpartisan organization that neither supports particular candidates or particular parties, we can't hold an event for just one candidate. As I said before, our online voters guide is going to be live June 4th, and then there will be many print copies in many areas around the state. And I'm sure that both candidates answered the questions. We had pretty good response that we put out in those publications. And watch for MarylandReporter.com's voters guide. Maryland Matters has election information. I do think that's very important to the league that people become informed before they vote, but we're just going to have to say goodnight. I'm sorry, but do come in tomorrow. We have had for some time confirmation for the candidates for the next Attorney General debate forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you.